I'm gonna put this to Raja. We'll all discuss obviously, but I'm gonna put this to Raja first because this is one of those questions where it's really easy for people in my position or your position, Logan, to talk about what a player should do when they have to balance paycheck versus competitive considerations versus city versus all these things, right? I can sit here and look at and say what I think a player should do, but like it's their lives. So I'm gonna put this to Raja first, and it's about Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson is a warrior for life so far. Klay Thompson, clearly by the fact that there is an impasse or lack of contract so far at a time when the Warriors and Klay could come to terms anytime now, and they have not as of 12:34 Eastern time on Monday, June 24th. He's 34. What should Klay Thompson want at this stage of his career? He has 4 championships. He has all the money you could ever ask for already. He maybe could get a bigger paycheck in Orlando or Detroit, I guess, maybe. I'm trying to think of the other cap team. Philly's got other priorities.
I know global warming is a thing, but you think he can have his boat in Lake Michigan in the wintertime?
We probably should consider where like docking fees are the most reasonable, right? Like where else can he commute to work over the water? But I mean, listen, it's easy for me to say. I look at it and I think Klay Thompson should be a warrior for life, and just stay put. Stay with your splash brother Steph Curry, and stay with Draymond and Steve Kerr, right off into the sunset together. But easy for me to say you should come to compromise on the salary level when some other team may be offering you $20 million more over the next couple of years. But I don't know, Raja. But am I wrong to think that like there are things that are bigger than the paycheck here, that being able to finish your career with the guys you started with and won championships with should outweigh whatever else it is that Klay may be seeking? Is that, I don't know. I sometimes feel bad for feeling that way because it's not my money that's being sacrificed.
I probably haven't talked to you about this, but I've talked about it on the pod before a lot. It was the only thing I really have to compare it to, and obviously I'm not nearly the player that Klay was or been on teams like that. But the last time I was a free agent, I knew it was kind of be my last deal, and I was trying to sort through where I was going to go. In Miami, Eric Spoelstra had hit me and he was like, "Yo, it's finally time for you to come home." This was the year that LeBron, D Wade, this was that year. So they had spent all of the money. It was for the vet minimum. The same with Kobe and the Lakers. Like it was going to be the vet minimum. And I hadn't made the $200 and some million, Howard. So my situation was different. Like I couldn't afford to take the vet minimum when teams like Utah and Chicago were offering me like way more than that, right? So like my situation was different, but those exist. And look, I would walk around water parks in Miami and or in West Palm, and people would just heckle me for like just mercilessly. Like they'd just be after me, and I'd have to be like, "Guys, what do you want me to do?" Like I gotta, you know what I mean? I can't come play for the minimum. So like there are times like that. Klay's is interesting because I've also said that one of my biggest regrets was not being able, and I didn't control it, was being able to be somewhere long enough to like ride off into the sunset as one of theirs. Right? And just having that, and I don't think there won't be a world where Klay is not known as a Golden State Warrior and he's not welcomed back in the Bay. Like, he's done too much. But man, that's a pretty cool story when you never leave and you're like from start to finish, right? Here's the caveat, Howard, and I don't know because I'm not there and I don't know what he's been offered. There does come a point where you're a man and you feel disrespected for all that you've accomplished. Now, you might not have to pay me like the Klay Thompson of 4 or 5 years ago, but I also don't want to be treated like I have no skin in this game. Like I'm not a part of the reason that we have this brand new, Chase Center, that I'm not a huge reason we have those recent banners hanging up. Like, so it's a balance, right? I personally would tell Klay, having done this, hey man, first of all, like organizationally, that's all you know. That's a very well-run organization. You don't want to hop into a situation with, I'm not going to say any team names, but places that historically, if you ask around, are not run well. That is the most frustrating thing ever. It's not even just the winning and losing. It's going somewhere where you're like, this is how you guys do business here? Like, this is my day-to-day? Like, these are the things that aren't in place where I'm used to them being in place. Like that's a very frustrating thing. The other part of it would be like, that money, while I'm sitting here telling you I don't count anyone's money, like if we're talking about 20 mil over the course of 4 years for Klay, like I don't think that's worth it for a player like him to leave Golden State unless he's telling you, hey, Howard, Raj, Logan, look at what they're fucking offering me. Would you not be disrespected by that? And if he's living in that world, pack your shit because you've done too much.
Yeah.
No, that's the thing. Like, if this comes down to like happiness, for lack of a better term, where's Klay going to be happy? Like, he can be happy in the Bay Area. Are you happier with more money on the Orlando Magic? Like, is that? I don't know. And I'm not slighting Orlando or the Magic, but like, I don't like the places he could go. They're I mean, good, decent teams, but like, is the extra 5 or 10 million or whatever it may be worth whatever that trade-off is? And like, only Klay can answer that, and only Klay will answer that ultimately. And we'll have an answer within the next, couple of weeks at the latest, I think. But I just think it's interesting.
Here's the other part. It is interesting, Howard. Here's the other part. We talked last pod, right, about LeBron and where he was at in terms of his competitive fire, right? And so this is what I didn't touch on. We haven't touched on about Klay, and I don't know this to be the case, but I think it's at least worth bringing up. There could be a world where Klay's it's not about the money or his happiness. It's about him saying, hey, man, I still want an opportunity to try to compete at that level, and that's not here for me any longer, right? And those are hard things within an athlete to quell. Like those feelings of like, I still think whether he's right or wrong is besides the point, but I still feel like I can do it at that level and contribute to that level of success playing this role. And that's not going to be what I have here going forward. That's when the ego starts to get involved. And look, being a former player, there's a lot of that with us. Like, I don't know.
This situation is about ego. It's about respect. And it's about economics. Klay wants respect. That's what this all boils down to. He felt like the offer last year, I think it was 2 years, $48 million. That wasn't respect. That didn't give enough respect in his mind to what he's done for that organization. So Raj is giving a lot of faces right now.
No, not for any.
Distracting me from doing my point.
I'm sorry, right? I'm not judging. I'm like, damn,
distracting from my point.
That's disrespectful, damn.
So on that end, he believes that is disrespectful. He turned that down to try to play his way into a bigger contract. That was his prerogative, and he's still carrying that into these negotiations, or lack thereof, because the offer is what the offer is, right? And the Warriors thinking is, well, if you can go find a better offer somewhere else, go right ahead, be my guest. And if you want to, because here's the thing, and Raja, you know this as just a former player, the team that sees you every day knows you better than the team that is out of the way, right? They know you better than the Orlando Magic. They know your medicals. They know your game. They know everything. And they are going to offer accordingly to that. And that is what is happening on the Golden State Warriors side, where they're like, okay, we know what this is, and we're still going to, the offer is what the offer is. We still want to build a contender around this big three, right? But Klay is over here seeing like, hey, man, y'all took care of Andrew Wiggins, right? Y'all took care of Jordan Poole, right? You guys took care of Draymond Green after he punched Jordan Poole in the face for everyone to see. And the Warriors are like, well, we gave you a max or a near max deal when you weren't even playing basketball. We gave you almost $200 million after you tore your ACL. What do you mean we don't want it? We don't give you respect. We're still giving you a competitive offer. So it's gonna come down to feelings at the end of the day. It's going to come down. It's the ball is all in Klay's court. If he wants to get, some people will say very emotional. Some people does he want to get, I don't know, does he want to prove a point that they can't win without me? That's his prerogative. But the thing is, and I can speak to this very clearly, it is not going to be the same anywhere else. Because if he goes to the Orlando Magic, a fan base and they pay him all that money, he is not going to be afforded all of the luxuries that he has in the Bay Area. If there's a 2 of 17 game, and there's going to be a lot of those, it's not going to be a fan base that's like, oh, it's okay, Klay. Don't worry about it. It's fine. We love you so much. It's going to be like, we paid this motherfucker $20-something million, and he's over here going 2 of 17, and he's over here riding his boat every day, and he's kind of aloof, and he's not the leader that we thought he was going to be for this specific group. And it's not going to go good for him. Klay is a very sensitive person, hence why we are at this point of the negotiations, right? So it's going to be a matter of ego that's going up against economics and feelings. And my Coach Carter, Alonzo Carter, he's now with Arizona. And this is a bit of advice to everybody. He was my high school coach, and I always bring this up every once in a while on the Real Ones podcast. He would always give me this advice: get your feelings out the shit. You got to do that if you're going to be Klay. That would be my advice to Klay Thompson, or should be Roger's advice to Klay Thompson, because the thing is, he is so slighted by what has been transpired over the last few years that I don't think, and this is just my personal opinion, I don't think he sees that everything he'll say he wants on paper is already in Golden State, right? The love that he gets from the fan base, right? The acceptance he gets from the fan base and in the front office and in the locker room for just his Klay-isms. And they're going to try to compete for a title. That's the best you can ask for. And he's going to get the money requisite to what he would get in the marketplace. And he gets to ride his boat to work every day. He gets everything that he wants in the Bay Area. Now, the question will always be, where does his feelings lie? And that's going to be interesting. I don't know what the answer, only Klay knows that answer. But that's pretty much what's going on here, is that Klay is in his feelings, and in some place you could say rightfully so, based on what I just laid out. But this is also a business, and we're going to see what happens between that, because the Warriors want all 3 of those stars to end their careers in a Warriors uniform and nowhere else. That's why they never traded Draymond Green when they probably should have. That's why they traded away Jordan Poole. That's why they've done all these things, to ride off into the sunset with these 3 guys and celebrate them the way they should be celebrated. We'll see if that happens, but it's all in Klay's court.
Yeah, you had a lot of good points there, Logan, about just fans, their expectation of you, the grace that they'll give you, the equity that you have with them because you've been there forever versus what another market might be like. Those are really good points, dude. It's a tough one, man, because Klay's sitting there. Look, I played 29 minutes a game last year, averaged 18 points, shot 39% from 3. While I don't think he is the same player, I don't think anyone would say he's the same player. Like, he's still productive. So it's gonna be a tough one, man. And there's no right answer to it. To each their own. Respect is a big deal too, though. I talked about the ego, and that ties hand in hand with respect and feeling like you've been disrespected. And so, be interesting to watch.
I hope he stays, and I think he ultimately will. That's my best guess, and that's just a hunch.
The other thing is the Joe Lacob part of it, and I know Howard can speak to this. The way Joe Lacob operates is he waits till the last minute to pay you a shit ton of money. He did that with he hesitated to spend money on Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins. He did it. He ended up doing it, even when he didn't have to for Jordan Poole. He even hesitated to spend the full max on Curry once upon a time. Guess what? Even after he was a multiple-time MVP, guess what? He still did it, right? Like, he ultimately takes care, or makes the attempt to take care of guys out in the last minute. It's just a matter of if Klay accepts at the end of the day. And I think he ultimately will. I do think so. It's kind of teetering right now. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm with Howard. I hope so.
I think we all hope so. For the game, it should happen.